determination requested by Ms. Crystal Zern. At this time, we'll proceed with the hearing on the review of the vicious dog determination. On May 19th, 2025, Washington County Sheriff Martin Schulteis issued a vicious dog determination to Ms. Crystal Zern, declaring her dog Winston to be a vicious dog under Section 172-13C of the Code of Washington County. Ms. Zern made a timely request for a review of the sheriff's determination. A copy of the sheriff's determination was provided in the committee's materials prior to this meeting, as was a copy of Ms. Zern's request for a review of that determination. Ms. Zern's request for a review of the sheriff's determination is before the Public Safety Committee of the Washington County Board of Supervisors pursuant to Section 172-13D of the County Code and Chapter 68 of the Wisconsin Statutes. The purpose of today's hearing is to review the sheriff's determination that Ms. Zern's dog is vicious and to decide whether to affirm, reverse, or modify that determination. A dog is determined to be a vicious dog under Section 172-13A of the County Code if it meets one of three standards. 1, if the dog has the propensity, tendency, or disposition to attack, cause injury, or otherwise endanger the safety of human beings or other domestic animals, as evidenced by its habitual or repeated chasing, or snapping, or barking, and or snarling in a threatening manner. 2, if the dog attacks a human being or another domestic animal without provocation. 3, if the dog is owned or harbored primarily or in part for the purpose of dog fighting, or any dog trained for dog fighting. A dog need only meet one of these definitions to be a vicious dog under the county's ordinance. It is the Public Safety Committee's responsibility today to conduct the hearing. The committee consists of 5 Washington County supervisors. They are District 6 Supervisor Doug Newman, District 11 Supervisor Jim Berg, District 15 Supervisor Lois Krieger Gundrum, District 19 Supervisor Tony Toma, and me, District 20 Supervisor Mike Schwab. I am the chair of this committee, and I will be presiding over the hearing today. The hearing will proceed as follows. The Sheriff's Office will present its case first. The Sheriff is represented by Assistant County Attorney Drew Hallmark. After Attorney Hallmark concludes his case, Ms. Zern will present her case. Both sides have the right to present witnesses and evidence. Courtroom rules of evidence do not apply to this proceeding, but evidence that is irrelevant, repetitive, or deemed unreliable may be excluded at my discretion as presiding officer. All witnesses will be sworn in and are subject to direct and cross-examination. Members of this committee are not permitted to call witnesses, but may ask questions of witnesses who are testifying. As this is not a public hearing, members of the public may not speak unless called to testify by the parties. It is important not to talk over one another and to speak clearly, as a court reporter will be taking down everything that is said today during the hearing. Do not interrupt one another, and do not speak directly to one another. Please be respectful at all times during and after the hearing. At the conclusion of testimony, each side will be permitted to make a closing argument. Closing arguments will be limited to addressing only the evidence presented during the hearing. If any party wishes to submit a brief at the close of the hearing, they must indicate a desire to do so prior to the committee commencing deliberations. In deliberating the case, it will be the committee's role to consider the facts as presented and to determine whether Winston is a vicious dog when applying those facts to the definition of a vicious dog as set forth in Section 172-13 of the Code of Washington County. If a majority of the committee believes that there is a greater than a 50% chance that Winston meets the definition of a vicious dog, the sheriff's determination will be affirmed. If not, the determination will be reversed. It will also take a majority vote of the committee to modify the determination. None of the members of this committee are lawyers. To the extent we have the need to consult with counsel, we reserve the right to consult with Washington County Attorney Brad Stern, who's here. County Attorney Stern may be called upon to advise us as to procedure or to navigate any legal issues that may arise. In full transparency, County Attorney Stern is Assistant County Attorney Hallmark Supervisor. However, County Attorney Stern plays no role in deciding the case. That is strictly the job of this committee. Attorney Hallmark has no role in advising this committee. The parties will be provided with a written decision no later than 20 days from today's date, or from the date briefs are filed if there is a request for briefs. So that everyone is aware, at each committee member's seat this morning, there are 5 pieces of information. The first is the sheriff's determination dated May 19th, 2025. The second is a printed copy of the county code that is pertinent in this regard. The third is the printed email that Ms. Zern properly executed her wish to file an appeal. The fourth is the packet that Ms. Zern emailed, I believe yesterday, has been printed out as well, so we all have that. And then finally, there's a sheet of several papers whereby committee members may take notes on each of the 3 areas of law that may be pertinent to this to help them decide if the dog is affirmed to be vicious or if the dog meets the requirements of the Washington County Code. Are there any questions at this point? Seeing none, we'd ask the sheriff or his representative to come forward. You may go to the podium, please. County Attorney, what is our process for swearing in or?
Court reporter will swear in witnesses.
Very well, thank you. If the court reporter would please swear in the witness? Or? Okay, thank you for clarifying that for me. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to the members of the committee. I have a housekeeping question to start, and my question is while I'm questioning a witness and building my case, does the committee anticipate Ms. Zern having the right to object to any relevancy questions that she deems not relevant? And if so, how would that be carried out this morning? My question is in the interest of fairness for Ms. Zern, and so that a party is not asking irrelevant questions and dragging this on unnecessarily.
It's my opinion that Ms. Zern should have the opportunity to raise an objection if something is raised, but it should be done in an orderly manner. And if it becomes obvious that there's just delaying, which I don't expect, we would address that at the time. Is that suitable? Is that a suitable answer?
It is. I just want to make sure that if she's sitting back there, that she has the opportunity to object. I'm not sure if the committee prefers her to just shout objection from her seat or if there's a different idea.
It would probably be best, and Ms. Zern, I expect you're going to be respectful, so I don't expect this to be a problem. If it becomes a problem, we'll deal with it, but okay, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to address that first. I think I should begin before I get started. I did read Ms. Zern's packet of appeal that came in yesterday, and on the front page there are 5 bullet points, and there are no rules of evidence that apply here. However, there is a standard for relevancy, and parties can object for irrelevant questions or topics that are discussed. And the relevancy comes from 22745, stating that it has to be material to the legal reason for being here today, and that is the statute, or the ordinance 172:13. So for those reasons, Mr. Chairman, I am arguing that bullet point 4, 2, 3, and 4, 5 are all irrelevant to the ordinance because they don't have anything to deal with the dangerousness of the dog, that the dog, they don't defend that the dog bit anyone or caused injury to another individual, even though those are relevant, or not, they're not relevant, even though they built the dog's character. The dog's character previous to the incident is not relevant. The only things that are relevant is that the facts that occurred and that the dog harmed someone. So for those reasons, I just want to begin by asking the committee to make a ruling on the relevancy of those bullet points.
Thank you for that question. I know my opinion, but I would be interested to hear the opinions of the committee as well. Anyone care to share, or if you're in agreement with the state or the request as stated, then we don't have a lot to talk about, I guess. Two comments. Ms. Ernst should have the opportunity to object to this as well. And then your second comment was?
Well, Mr. Chairman, it is typical, thank you. It's typical when objections to evidence or would account to motions in limine, as we would call these in a court of law, are made, that objections to evidence would be made and ruled upon as that evidence is attempted to be entered. So it may be premature at this point to grant those or sustain those objections because the committee has not yet heard Ms. Ernst's presentation. Also, at the very least, if the committee is willing to entertain Attorney Hallmark's objection, I believe Ms. Ernst should be afforded an opportunity to explain why she believes that that information is relevant to the determination. But again, I would respectfully suggest that this body's determination in that regard might be premature because the evidence has not yet been introduced.
So at this point, your request to deny these items as evidence is denied, and we will deal with them as they come up during the course of the hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then at that point, I will call Mr. Dan Dittman. He is the driver concerned in the most recent case. Where would you like him to?
At your podium right there, please.
Okay.
This witness will be sworn in by the court reporter. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dittman, were you delivering packages for Amazon on May 18th, 2025?
Yes.
And were you tasked to deliver a package to Ms. Stern's address?
Yes.
And did you see any special instructions pertaining to the package delivery?
The package instructions stated that if the dog was present to, I believe it was either near the end of the, delivered to the end of the driveway, but in this particular case, I saw a steel delivery box, so that's where I moved or proceeded to deliver to that particular location.
Thank you. And you eventually pulled up to Ms. Stern's address?
Yes.
And where did you park?
I parked basically on the opposite side of the street from her residence.
And you exited the vehicle?
Yes.
And did you see the dog on the property at the time?
As I was approaching the property, I did see the dog towards the, I think, a big garage area.
And you saw Ms. Stern as well?
She was operating a riding lawnmower.
And how far would you say the garage is from the road?
I would say at least 50 plus feet.
So you get out of the vehicle, you see the dog on the property along with Ms. Stern, and can you describe what happened after this point?
I approached the delivery box, as I'm going to call it, the delivery box with the packages. I proceeded to scan the packages I had, one of which was not scanning. I eventually determined that I had incorrectly grabbed a package out of my vehicle. Basically, one of the packages I had was not for her, so I took that package. Upon discovering my mistake, I took that package, turned around, and proceeded back to my vehicle to get the correct package. And it was at that point, I'm not sure what happened first, if it was barking or if I actually felt contact from the dog, but next thing I know, there's a dog in front of me barking at me.
And were you walking towards or away from the house when you felt the impact?
I was walking away.
And was there any point where Ms. Zern directed you to where to put the package?
On my approach, I basically received a hand gesture kind of directing me towards or at least what I believe to be directing me towards the steel box.
And how far away would you say the steel box is from the road?
I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of at least 20 feet.
So the box would be about 30 feet away from the house and 20 feet from the road. Is that correct?
That sounds about correct.
And when the dog hit you, how far away from the road were you?
I would say I was probably in proximity to the culvert, which would be probably about a good 10 feet away from the road.
Okay. And to your knowledge, so when you felt the dog impact you, prior to that, did you have any contact with the dog?
No, I mean, I had observed that it was there, and then I just kind of stopped paying attention. I would more walk towards the podium and went on about doing my task.
Okay, so it's safe to say that you didn't do anything to directly provoke the dog?
Correct.
And did the dog start chasing you around after the impact?
Yes. Basically, the dog got in front of me, was barking at me, and from there, my memory is a little bit foggy as to what happened, but there was definitely a need to get away from the dog.
Okay, and did you use the package at all to separate yourself from the dog?
At a certain point, yeah, I did remember the training that kicked in that we received, which is to use the package as a shield. And unfortunately, that was also bitten and taken away from me.
Thank you. And was it at this point that Ms. Zern attempted to come help?
Actually, she had been there a little bit prior to the package being used as a shield.
Okay, so she was there first to separate you and the dog?
Yeah.
And then while she was trying to separate you, you used the package as a shield as your training?
Yeah.
Thank you. And were you trying to get behind her for protection?
Yeah, there ended up being a little bit of just me running in circles, and the dog also just kind of matching with me.
Okay. So you would say the dog was chasing you?
Yes.
And how aggressively would you say that the dog bit the package?
I mean, I don't really have any way of, I guess I don't really have any way of answering that. The package did get pulled out of my hands. I did take a picture of that bite mark in the package. I don't know how relevant that is to this proceeding, but I do have that if that's needed.
Thank you. And you say the dog bit you?
I was bit in both legs, and I believe I may have actually also been bit at least a third or fourth time, just a little bit below my butt. I mean, I do have a pair of pants that has a hole in that particular location. I do have those pants with me as well, if that's needed.
And you said the dog bites drew blood?
Both of them, yes.
And did you get your injuries checked out after the incident?
I had my injuries checked out the next morning. I did I was required to speak with a nurse prior to basically, I spoke with a nurse within a half hour or an hour of that particular incident occurring.
Thank you. At this point, members of the committee, I would like to submit the bite mark on the package and the pictures for the bite marks on his legs as Exhibits 1, 2, and 3 at SAB marked and entered as exhibits. I have them here, and I have copies for Ms. Zern.
Very well. Yep, please submit them and share the copies with Ms. Zern. If there's one set, just pass them around.
I would just do 1, 2, and 3. It doesn't matter. Thank you. I have no other questions for this witness, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee for this witness? Seeing none, the witness is excused with our thanks. Oh, excuse me. Ms. Zern, did you have any, before you leave, sir?
I don't have any further questions.
Thank you. Please carry on.
Thank you. At this point, I'll call Ms. Deputy Peters to the stand.
Yes.
Is it okay if I begin, Mr. Chairman?
Please do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Deputy Peters, were you on duty on May 18, 2025?
Yes.
And were you dispatched for an animal bite complaint located at 5283 Meadowview Drive?
I believe it's 4283 Middleview Drive, yes.
Yes. And that is known as Ms. Zern's address?
Yes.
And was the caller Daniel Dittman?
Yes.
And did you make contact with Mr. Dittman?
Yes.
What did you learn from dispatch?
Mr. Dittman had called into the Washington County Sheriff's Office to report an animal bite at Ms. Zern's residence, and he was advised to meet him down the road as he was away from the residence.
Thank you. And when you made contact with Mr. Dittman, did you notice any injuries on his person?
Yes, he rolled up his pant legs. On both legs he had bite marks. One leg he had a bite mark in the area of his calf area, and another one behind his knee area, which was possibly going to be 2 bites. He wasn't sure at the time.
And did you see that blood was drawn on his legs at all?
Yes.
Did you also make contact with Ms. Zern?
Yes.
And the dog reported was the dog named Winston in this case?
Yes.
And she stated that she told you that Winston was up to date on his rabies vaccinations at the time?
Yes, she provided the documentation.
And did she indicate at all that the dog was wearing a shock collar?
Yes.
And she also stated that the dog went over the underground fence line when it came to bite Mr. Dittman?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you know of any previous similar incidents involving this dog biting someone?
Yes, there's 2 prior reported instances.
So it would be safe to say, in your opinion, that Ms. Zern would previously be on notice that 2 separate incursions occurred that her dog bit someone?
Yes.
And this, in your opinion, would be repetitive at this point?
Yes.
Thank you. You would agree that it has a tendency or disposition to attack other people?
Yes.
Did Ms. Zern at all ever state to you that the dog was provoked in any manner?
No.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Zern, do you have any questions? Does anyone on the committee have any questions? If there are no other questions from the committee, Deputy Peters, how did you become aware that there had been previous incidents with this dog at this residence?
There's like a call history. You can see if there's animal complaints.
So that came through with dispatch?
Yeah, we look at the premise history and if there's
Okay.
other complaints, yeah.
So sounds like standard procedure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have no further questions for this witness.
Witness is excused with our thanks.
Thank you. At this point, Mr. Chairman, I'll call Deputy Lamach as well.
Please do. Thank you.
I do.
Thank you. Deputy Lamach, were you on duty August 27, 2024?
Yes, I was.
And were you dispatched to Ms. Zern's address regarding an animal bite complaint?
Initially, I was dispatched to the victim's address, but then to Ms. Stearns.
Thank you. And
I was initially dispatched to the victim's address and then to Ms. Stearns thereafter.
thank you. What did you learn from dispatch at this time?
That a FedEx delivery driver had been bitten by a dog at that location.
And the dog in question, you learned that the dog's name is Winston?
Yes,
And did you make contact with the victim?
I did.
Did you notice any injuries?
She had a bandaged right wrist. She had already sought medical care.
Okay. Did you see the severity of the injury at all?
She had a picture that she had taken prior to getting medical treatment, I assume for her work, that had the blood and puncture wounds from the dog bite.
Thank you. And did the victim tell you the circumstances surrounding the bite?
She stated that she was delivering, oh yes, she did. She said she was delivering packages.
Thank you. Could you briefly describe, I'm sorry, strike that question. Did you also make contact with Ms. Zern?
Yes.
And did Ms. Zern's story contradict what the victim told you at all?
No.
What did either Ms. Zern or the victim indicate to you that the bite was provoked in any way?
No.
Are you familiar with the facts that came from Aurora Healthcare on August 27, 2024?
Yes.
And that fact says that the bite was not provoked?
Correct.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would ask that that facts be entered into evidence as Exhibit 4. I have a copy for Ms. Zern as well.
Please enter, yes. We'll receive that fax.
Mr. Chairman, I would ask kindly that the committee ask Ms. Zern if she has any objection to the admittance of evidence.
Thank you. Thank you.
And are you familiar with any dog bites regarding Winston prior to this incident?
Yes.
So you would agree that Ms. Zern was also on notice at this event that her dog had a tendency or a disposition to attack other people?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions for this witness, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
What was the delivery driver's response about?
Oh, ma'am,
Yeah,
can we have you come to the microphone, please?
sure. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
My question is what the driver's reaction or initial response was when we asked if she needed medical assistance or whatever. My understanding is she did not want to at all, as it was a Band-Aid placed over her. Like she felt, did she feel it was minor enough that it didn't require medical assistance?
I object on relevance. Mr. Chairman, that's not relevant at all. It doesn't go towards the dangerousness of the dog, whether she wanted medical assistance or not.
I would agree with that. Is there any dissent from the committee? That objection is sustained.
Thank you.
Do we know why there's no photos of the fight?
I think we'll reserve that question for when you're up.
Okay, thank you.
I think I have just briefly, did the victim tell you at all the situation surrounding when the dog bit her regarding placement and where the presence of another party, such as the owner?
Yes.
And can you describe the instance?
The victim stated that she approached the door. Ms. Zern came to the door. She was holding Winston by the collar, and Winston was barking pretty excessively. She started backing up because she was fearful of the dog, and then the dog lunged and bit her right wrist.
So just to summarize, the dog was being restrained by Ms. Stern and was still managed to bite the victim?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Ms. Zern, do you have any further questions? Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you. At this time, I'll call Deputy Russell.
Yes.
Thank you. Were you on duty on June 4th, 2022?
Yes.
And were you dispatched to Ms. Zern's residence due to a report of an animal bite?
Yes.
And did you make contact with the victim?
Yes.
And the victim was under the duty of delivering a package?
Yes, for Amazon.
Thank you. Did the victim fill you in on the circumstances surrounding the dog bite?
Yes, he did.
And can you describe for us what the victim told you?
He stated he responded to the residence to deliver a package, went into the back of his truck to get the package, and when he was about to exit the truck, he was bitten by a dog.
And did the witness say that he saw the dog prior to exiting the vehicle?
Yes, he saw it inside the house.
Thank you. So in your summary, the dog, when he exited the vehicle, the dog was somehow let out and ran to the delivery driver and bit the delivery driver?
Yes, he was unsure how the dog got out of the house.
Thank you. And the dog in question, in this case, his name is Winston as well?
It is.
And did you notice any injury on the victim?
I did.
And how severe would you say it was? Did you see any blood?
There were some puncture marks on his abdomen, and I saw him at the hospital, so they had cleaned it up.
Okay, thank you. And did anyone at all indicate to you that the dog bite was provoked in any way?
No.
Is this the first documented report of Winston biting someone?
Yes, it was.
And after this incident, or when and after this incident occurred, would you, and your meeting with Ms. Son, would you agree that, Ms. Stern, excuse me, that she was put on notice that her dog had a propensity, tendency, or disposition to attack other people?
After this bite, yes.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would like to submit 2 photos of the puncture wound and the clothes of the victim. I'd ask to be labeled Exhibits 5 and 6.
We'll receive those. Please share them with Ms. Zern as well.
Thank you. I have no other questions for this witness, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Zern, do you have any questions for this witness?
Did the driver state whether he noticed any delivery instructions for the package?
Yes, there are special instructions not to approach the house.
And did the driver in the police report, I believe, did he not acknowledge that he read those notes in advance and determined that he chose to disregard them?
He saw that the dog was inside of the residence, so he approached with caution.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Supervisor Toma.
When the driver exited his truck, where was the truck parked when he exited?
In the driveway.
And then I missed, where was he hit on the body?
The abdomen.
Any other questions? Supervisor Krieger-Gundrum.
believe it when he was about to step out of the truck. I don't know if he stepped out. I think it might have been a fluid motion as he was stepping out of the truck.
Any other questions? Supervisor Tola.
The first witness had said that there was the first driver, the dog had a shock collar on. Did the dog have a shock collar on that particular day?
I don't recall.
Any other questions? Thank you for your testimony. You're excused.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My only questions remaining are regarding Ms. Zern if she chooses to testify. So I'm not sure the committee's preference on if we prefer to see if she wants to testify first before I ask questions. It might make sense for me to cross-examine her after she gives her questions, but I'd be willing to rest until that happens. I have no other witnesses to build my case.
I'm going to seek advice from our county attorney.
If the sheriff's office through Attorney Hallmark is resting, then it would be Ms. Zern's opportunity to present her case. If she chooses to testify, she would also be subject to cross-examination as any witness would.
Very well.
Thank you. You'll be excused for the moment.
Thank you.
And Ms. Zern, it's your opportunity to offer your testimony.
Good morning. Thank you for your time. I'm Crystal Zern.
Thank you. Does this witness need to be sworn in or as an appellant? Very well, thank you.
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, as obviously everyone has stated, I live at 4283 Meadowview Drive, and we have a dog named Winston. He is our COVID rescue dog. He was a stray prior to us rescuing him. We believe he was about 6 or 7 months old when we got him. All we know is he was a stray in Texas. So I can't speak to what his life was like prior to joining our home. I can't speak to what his situation was, but I do recognize that he has, for whatever reason, there's a trigger with delivery drivers. Obviously, as we go through, you have the packet. I have lots of, obviously, character statements from, he's been going to Wags and Barks Doggy Daycare for the entire 5 years we've had him. No incidents ever with any other dogs, employees. My husband and I entertain a lot, and we have neighborhood friends and family come over all the time. In 5 years, there have been zero bites, nips, aggression towards any normal visitor to our home. So again, there's a pattern. I don't want to read my entire packet to you. I would actually like to call my husband, Jason Zern, to give his testimony of incident number 1, which was the June 4th, 2022, because he was the one present and he did have direct interaction with the driver during that incident. So if I can call
You may.
Jason. Okay. So we've heard about the very first incident with the Amazon driver. I would actually just briefly like to read a snippet from the interview with the driver. Ugana advised that he's familiar with this residence and he saw the special instructions not to come to the door. Ugana advised that he saw the dog when the dog was inside, so he drove up the driveway. Ugana advised he got the package and was about to step out of the truck. He stated that Winston came running at him and bit him in the stomach. Jason, would you like to elaborate on your interactions with him?
Well, the very first time, he was walking at the end of my driveway, and I clearly told him to just set the package down, and the distance from our house to the end of the driveway is well over 100 feet. And I said to him, please set it down. And he said, no, I'm good with dogs. And I said, no, please set it down by my mailbox. I'll come get it. And again, he said, dogs don't bother me. I'm fine. He kept coming. And then I jumped up and tried to get between him and the dog. And I must have told him 3-4 times to please, or asked him to please set the package down on the road. But he continued to tell me he was fine with dogs. Dogs are good. Dogs are his friend. And when he got close, the times that I've seen, or that I saw, he started swinging the package at Winston, causing him to become aggressive at him.
So him swinging the package could be easily construed as a provocation of the dog.
Yes.
And how far away from our house was the delivery driver?
Oh, he came all the way up inside what would be his range for his electric fence.
Can you explain to the committee what Winston's range, does he always wear his electric collar?
All the time, he even sleeps with it on.
And so in the committee's packet on page 3, there is an aerial image of our home, our residence. Could you kind of maybe explain where Winston's underground fence area is and where it stops as it pertains to the front of the house and the driveway?
Okay. The bigger building is obviously the main structure of the house. So it is just a short range around, and it probably comes in front of the house 10 feet? 15
So
feet?
was the driver within his electric fence range, or was the driver outside of Winston's fence range?
He was inside of it. He literally walked up the entire driveway as I repeatedly asked him to set the package down.
I don't have any other questions for this witness. I don't really.
Attorney Hallmark, do you have any further questions?
I just briefly, Mr. Chairman.
Please proceed.
I just want to clarify with you that you say the delivery driver swung the package at Winston.
Mm-hmm.
Was that after Winston approached the driver?
It was, no, he approached the dog, or within his range, after I asked him to set the package down. And it wasn't a package, it was a clipboard.
And are you aware of their training to use the package or a clipboard as protection?
My instinct would be for protection is to hold it and not to swing it.
That the dog was already in close proximity?
He was barking, but he was not lunging.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Supervisor Newman.
The cycle instructions for deliveries were placed to the delivery company or whoever bring the packages?
Yeah, so it was Amazon, and Amazon has a area in your account where you can designate, repeated, whether it's a code or special instructions. And I have had for years in all delivery notes, instructions, special requests, etc., please leave all packages at the end of the driveway. We have a dog. And I would say in our 5 years, even with those rules, and strictly speaking Amazon, at least 50% of the drivers to this day continue to deliver packages to our front door, which is within our dog's range. Obviously, our reasoning for making these notes in our account is because we see that he's protective. I'm his person, and when I'm there, he's very protective of me. And therefore, we have installed this delivery box. We request don't even come to the delivery box, right? Leave it at the end of the driveway completely, because that's well outside of his range. So those are the notes I'm referring to. I actually did also, after this first event, I reached out to Amazon because I was concerned, saying I have these notes in our account for all deliveries. And she said, oh, well, I'll make sure to put the notes in a different spot so that drivers really see it moving forward. And unfortunately, that hasn't, I don't know what their software is or what have you, but I'm showing good faith that I'm making lots of efforts to keep everyone safe for all deliveries. I do recall that I asked the deputy who was with the second incident when she came to interview me, and I stated these facts as well, and I asked, what recourse do I have as an owner? We have an invisible fence. He's never unattended outside. His collar's on at all times. We have it in our delivery notes that they leave packages at the end of the driveway. We've purchased a box, which is also at least 10, 20 feet outside of his electric fence range. More, right? Regardless. And so again, we're making efforts, and I said, what recourse do I have if this happens and they blatantly disregarded our instructions, etc. And she said, well, you could build a fence, which, sure, I own an acre. It would be about $50,000 to fence in the entire thing. And I do have a fence, invisible, right? So again, there's reasons that we make these notes in our accounts, and it's unfortunate when drivers disregard them and then an incident happens like this. Regardless, so that is all I have. I don't have anything else for you.
Supervisor
I don't
Newman has
know if
another
other
question.
people have questions.
So based on the instructions that are placed on the delivery, has there been prior indication or prior incidents that would have provoked or made you put these precautions on the deliveries with the dog?
Winston likes to steal packages and carry them around the yard. And when it's something that I value, I don't want him to do that. And so my reasoning initially was because I don't want the packages within Winston's area, because if I'm not home, he'll just take it and run around with it. So that was my reasoning for setting those messages initially.
Any other questions? We'll let Supervisor Newman go first.
Between which incidents did you purchase and place the special delivery box?
I believe I purchased it and installed it shortly after the second incident.
Anything else, Supervisor Newman? Supervisor Toma.
Mr. Zern stated that when the delivery driver got there, he stepped between Winston and the delivery driver. How did Winston get to the driver if you were between them?
Oh, I mean, obviously he's faster than me, so I tried to grab him, and I wasn't able to grab his collar. It slipped past me. But he was, I mean, there's a lot going on within 2 feet of you, and I think I was literally right there. Like,
Can I add? just to bring clarification, we have a dog door on the back of our house. It's powered, so it's not one of those flap ones. It's bulletproof glass that comes down. He's only allowed outside when we're home, when someone's there, right? And so that may be what your confusion with why the driver stated he saw the dog in the house and then suddenly he was outside the house. So we were home, the dog door was open, so he knows he has that freedom to go out the dog door, and then he circled the house and came in front where the driver was near the door.
Supervisor Toma.
The shot collar, is that just for the invisible fence, or is it one that you activate?
It's just for the invisible fence.
Supervisor Krieger-Gundrum.
So I was at the front door, the FedEx woman came, and yes, he was barking. So I held his collar with my right hand, opened the door. She was standing there. He lunged, nipped her. Again, I doubt she even needed a Band-Aid, but regardless, nipped her, right? He's protecting me. Someone at the door with a package. I don't know what it is about delivery drivers, but regardless, he somehow perceives that as a threat, right? And so he lunged. So he never was out of my grasp in that incident. I had his collar the entire time. He lunged, so then I put him in the house, locked the door, and then I came outside to complete the transaction with the driver.
Please.
No, we currently don't have anything like that. I don't believe most people do for invisible fences, but we currently don't have any signage regarding the fence. Rarely. I would say in incident 3, Winston was barking right at his line, which is, again, 10, 20 feet away from that delivery box. And he barks, and it's loud. He's a big dog. But regardless, and then I was there on the riding lawnmower. I'm coming over because I can see him walking up with the package, and there's Winston right at the border barking like crazy. And then again, everything happens in 5 seconds. So I'm getting off the lawnmower. Winston breaks through. He's going towards the driver. I'm trying to place myself between the driver and the dog because I know he won't hurt, like he's trying to protect me. And so we did a little dance with the driver and the dog and me. And again, there was a package being swung, which to Winston is showing aggression towards me or towards him. Yeah, and it happened. So I'm sorry. That's.
May I add something?
Go ahead.
I was looking at the collar, and there is a good chance that maybe it just wasn't charged or the batteries were accidentally dead in it. But he did stop, and I think he realized that the batteries were not doing anything.
Because it does give a
And then he
beep
continued.
before.
Yes, and maybe the battery was dead at that time. And now we are proceeding to take even further cautions with a full 6-foot fence around our house to ensure that nothing ever happens again. And I also wanted to make clear that the electric door on the back of the house is only in operation when we are home. That is it's not something we leave on. If you turn the power off, he cannot use it.
This is, I'm sorry, this was a stock photo? Right, this is just an image from the internet. That is the exact delivery box that I purchased, but that's not our home in that photo. I apologize. That was just a stock image, just to show the sizing of, you know, how large this box is. But the box on our property is placed near that yellow circle on the aerial home map on page 3.
Any other questions? Ms. Zern, would you want this, the packet that you emailed, enter into evidence as your testimony?
Yes, please. Yes, I would like to add that to evidence as part of my
And so
testimony.
that would be item number 7?
I do, yes.
Which, you've obviously seen the packet. And which segments of the packet do you think should not be allowed into evidence? Please come forward.
I think, respectfully, it might be easier for me to tell you which ones I think should be entered into evidence.
Please proceed.
I have no objection to the aerial view of the house or the delivery box. I have no objection. I have no objection to the introduction and request for appeal paragraph that's on page 2, specifically that paragraph. And the mitigation efforts on page 5. It states mitigation efforts and has the bullet points. I have no objection to those being entered into evidence as well. And also they did testify about the new fence installation in general, so I would have no objection to that being entered. Those are what I would agree to being entered in evidence as they were covered in testimony.
So, to review, the first page is allowable? Can you run me through it by page again, please?
The second page, first paragraph on the second page, only the first paragraph. And then the pictures on the third page that has the delivery box and the aerial photo, that was also entered into evidence, or that was also testified about, excuse me. And then on page 5, the specific paragraph regarding mitigation efforts. Ms. Zern did talk about those, so I have no objection to those. That's what I would agree to, Mr. Chairman. I think those are all relevant as well, at least at this point for this hearing specifically.
Any comment from the committee?
I don't have a comment, but I have a question.
Yep. We'll hold that until, let's finish this issue first. It's my recollection, based on the testimony that was offered, that the areas of the document that Attorney Hallmark has outlined were actually referred to during the testimony of Ms. Zern and her husband, and so it's my opinion that those should be allowed. The other items are good extraneous information, but they were not part of the testimony, in my opinion. Does the committee agree with that?
Thank you.
Thank you. And now Supervisor Toma had a question for the witness.
You took all of these precautions for the drive, the delivery times. There was no mention about beware of dog signs. We have no beware of dog signs.
No, we have a very friendly dog. Neighbors and kids come up to our door, strangers, solicitors, all the time. No incidents ever. So again, I don't know what his sensitivity is or his reasonings from when he was a stray, why he feels strongly about delivery drivers. But again, in my experience, it's just been, we know that he has a sensitivity to those triggers, and so therefore we have an invisible fence. We have notes on our Amazon account because we primarily get our deliveries from Amazon. We, again, we've installed the delivery box. In 2 out of the 3 of these incidences, a driver was swinging a clipboard or package at him, which again, he feels provoked to defend. And then the other incident with the FedEx driver, I guess I would say, yeah, it's unfortunate, but also I would say the nip barely drew blood. She stated in her report she did not want to go to the hospital. She did not want medical attention. She was only doing it because she had to by her employer's protocol. And I know I have seen this particular driver many times before. We've always been friendly. She has seen our dog before. I believe, well, no, she delivers to our store a lot, so a different location. I see her more. Regardless, so I do feel that he was provoked surely in incident 1 and incident 3. I will acknowledge incident 2. I was holding him by his collar and he nipped her. She needed a Band-Aid, if that. So I very strongly ask you to please consider removing the vicious dog determination.
We're getting a bit far afield from the question about the beware of dogs.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
No,
I
there's not
understand.
currently a sign. I'm
And
sorry.
Supervisor Toma had a follow-up question as
Okay.
well.
Thank you.
On this delivery box, there's no beware of dog sign on the delivery box. If I was delivering, I would assume there's no mention about why you want us to put that in there. If you had a sign that says beware of dog, obviously, they probably would not go beyond that delivery box.
And we're getting a bit
Okay,
far afield here, too.
Okay.
Yeah, the delivery box is well outside of his invisible fence range, so it had not crossed my mind to put up a sign because, again, it's maybe 10 feet off the road and 30, 40 feet from our front door. So I didn't feel that I had to at this point, but.
Supervisor Krieger-Gundrum had a question as well.
Let me know if this is going to be sensitive. The question is, if I were to walk up to your family driver holding a clipboard, where I don't know if your dog would perceive me as the delivery driver, or
He,
a good person.
yeah.
So I'm just wondering, I do see that you say that triggered by delivery drivers, but would you be triggered by me as well?
I don't believe so. We've had, like I've said, we've had strangers, solicitors, Jehovah's Witness, delivery drivers, neighborhood children coming over to ask if our kids can come out and play. I mean, this is like a every other day occurrence, so I don't believe so. Just the fact of you carrying a clipboard would not instigate him. It's when you start swinging it at him, I believe, that he views that as a threat.
When it comes to that, I think he knows when it's like a very large truck, to be honest. So like if that same person could walk up out of a normal car. So I've had him bark at me when I come up and I have big cube vans, but then he obviously realizes it's me. But then the same person could come back in a normal car and he'll just be his friend and lick him and everything else.
Please.
So I drive a big, large truck, and so I don't know, you just said a normal car.
Right.
I would recognize that, but a big, large truck might trigger me.
Like a
big
it's a
commercial box
commercial
van, like a 16-foot
vehicle.
box, 10-foot tall, like a Penske or like a big cube van, like Amazon delivers in a lot of very large vehicles.
My father-in-law has a F-350, which is a big old loud diesel truck, and he has never, there's never been any incidents with that vehicle, with any large standard vehicle, I guess I would say.
Thank you for that question, and I would remind the committee that really our focus is on actions, incidents that have already happened, as opposed to conjecture about what might happen in the future. While we are concerned about that, we can't go too far afield that way either. Were there any other questions for this witness? Supervisor Newman.
Speaking about incident number 3, we heard testimony that the delivery driver followed following delivery instructions.
No, our instructions are to leave him at the end of the driveway. He proceeded to walk up the driveway towards the delivery box. And the gesture, I believe, as I was on the riding lawnmower, I went, stop, stop. So he did not stop. He did not read the directions in his Amazon instructions.
If that's the case, why put the delivery box at the end of the driveway?
So we installed the delivery box after incident 2, and we've had no issues. However, again, and actually it's been winter, so we can't move the box. It was frozen to the ground, but you are actually in the process of putting it next to our mailbox so that the drivers won't even need to turn into our driveway at all. They can just come up and stay completely off-site.
Any other questions? Sorry, Mr. Bird? Go ahead.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee? Thank you for your testimony. You're excused for the moment. And Attorney Hallmark, if you wanted to make any closing statements.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right. Members of the committee, at this point, you've heard all the testimony and heard all the evidence, witnessed the exhibits, and based on the evidence provided, it's clear that Winston is a vicious dog as described in both 172.13A1 and A2. Winston is a vicious dog under sub 1 due to him repeatedly chasing and acting aggressively and ultimately biting 3 people on 3 different occasions. These bites broke the skin on all occasions and drew blood on all occasions as well. Ms. Zern was present during 2 occasions and still could not stop her dog from harming innocent delivery drivers. On the other occasion, the dog was inside initially but was let out. Through these repeated incidents, the dog has shown that it has a propensity to cause injury to another human being by its habitual snapping at other people. Also, there is barking involved in these instances as well. Winston is also vicious under sub 2 due to him attacking human beings without... I'm sorry. Thank you. Winston is also vicious under sub 2 due to him attacking another person without being provoked. In 2 cases, the dog ran up to the delivery driver on its own volition without provocation to bite and injure the driver. In the other case, the dog was being physically held back by Ms. Cern, but the dog was so uncontrollable that Ms. Cern could not successfully prevent it from biting the driver. In the most recent case, the dog went over the underground property line and ignored its shock collar in order to bite the driver. And even if the shock collar was not operative, if it was dead, that shows that the owners are not paying close enough attention when delivery drivers are on the property in order to keep their shock collar working. And that is a big concern. Ms. Cern has showed that she is unable to successfully restrain the dog even when it is in her view to begin with. The sheriff has given Ms. Cern 2 prior occasions to get her dog under control. However, it was not until this incident that Ms. Cern has decided to take precautions. She has failed to get her dog under control, even to the extent that the shock collar is not enough to keep the dog from running and biting innocent Samaritans. On the 3rd incident, the dog was in view, as she states that the dog is always supervised. However, she could not get to the dog or stop the dog fast enough from biting the driver 3 different times. The sheriff made the vicious dog determination to make sure that the dog does not injure anyone else and protect the public safety before someone else is bitten or bitten more severely, gets fatally injured, or loses a limb. I just want to remind the committee, we're not here to put the dog down. The sheriff does not want to put the dog down in any capacity. The sheriff is just asking that Ms. Cern comply with the remedies in 172.13B1 through 6, which involves a muzzle or leash when the dog is off the property and the dog is confined within a fence or kennel when outside, as approved by the sheriff. We're not asking to harm the dog. We're not asking to remove the dog from Ms. Cern's care. We're not asking for someone else to take the dog. We're only asking that, and we're also asking for Ms. Cern to carry the proper insurance in case the dog has bit someone else. And that is a concern, and that is a must, because since Ms. Cern is on notice, there is a statute that says that if she's on notice and the dog injures someone else, she has to pay double damages, which is an issue that no one wants to see here. So for those instances, those reasons, we're asking the decision to muzzle and confine the dog is in the interest of public safety and to keep the public safe, as is the purpose of this committee here this morning. None of these instances would have happened if the dog was wearing a muzzle, for instance. Ms. Cern stated some mitigating factors, and I will briefly go through those. As discussed, the electric fence has previously not been enough to restrain the dog and has not proven effective. The large package delivery box was present during the most current incident and did not prevent the dog from coming to attack the owner. Plus, the driver had to walk about 20 feet on the property to access the box, so specific delivery instructions are not sufficient here. She states that she never leaves Winston unattended, but her attendance, again, and attempts at physical restraint have proven ineffective to control the dog. The purchasing of a fence for the backyard and also her previous purchase of a delivery box and underground fence suggests that Ms. Cern knows that her dog is dangerous and poses a threat to others. Even though she claims to be putting a fence in, she could just easily take it down or not put one in if the committee does not order that it must be there. Winston being up to date on his shots is the bare minimum for a dog owner and is not a mitigating factor here, as listed in her packet, as admitted in evidence. With that, Winston is clearly a vicious dog as described in 172.13, as evidence clearly shows. Ms. Cern has stated that the dog has a specific tendency to delivery drivers, and that is what occurred at the 3 incidents, which is further proof that the delivery drivers did not provoke the dog. The dog approached the drivers and then got aggressive after that, and the drivers were simply using their training to protect themselves from the dog that was acting aggressively. The dog's background and character references are not material to the ordinance. They're not material at all to the character of the dangerousness of the dog, and are therefore irrelevant and should not be considered by this committee's decision. The bottom line here is that the law applies to everyone, and the sheriff must uphold the law. I'll leave you all with this. If this is not a case with a vicious dog as described in the county ordinance, then what is? Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Zern, your closing statement, please.
So, Chapter 172.13A1, under vicious dog definition, says any dog with a propensity, tendency, or disposition to attack, cause injury, etc. So I did include these character statements in my packet because I believe that they do speak volumes about his propensity, tendency, or disposition to attack. Debbie Cedar, the Wags and Barks dog daycare owner, states that he gets along with all the dogs, even the little ones and puppies. I have dealt with aggressive dogs. Winston is not an aggressive dog.
Madam?
Yes.
I'm informed that since the character statements, and I'm sure the committee has read them all, but we haven't received them into evidence as part of the packet. So those are not to be referred to in the closing statements.
Okay. Then I will just close with stating two of these three incidents occurred by the driver swinging a clipboard or a box, again, initiating what the dog views as aggression, and so he responded. And the one incident where the driver came to the door and I was holding him, I acknowledge was unfortunate, but also uncharacteristic. As I've stated, many, many children, neighbors, strangers, solicitors, etc., delivery drivers for pizza 2 nights ago, all come to the door and have for 5 years, and there's never been a single ounce of aggression in that dog. I outline all the steps we've taken throughout the time that we've had him, and I also confirm we paid a $6,200 deposit on a fence that's 6 feet high for our backyard, which Winston will 100% be contained in that area moving forward. And my reasoning for doing that is not only for Winston's care, but also obviously to continue to keep everyone safe, including the drivers. I understand they're just going to work and doing their jobs. However, I do believe that I've taken a lot of steps to protect and give notice, and when delivery driver 1 confirmed he read the notes and disregarded them, I don't believe that means my dog was unprovoked, and the third incident as well. So I do ask you to consider all of these things. I don't believe I have a vicious dog. He is the sweetest thing. And again, I think moving forward, we're going to continue to keep everyone safe and continue to get this fence, and so there's no other incidents at all. And again, we're just doing everything we can control. I can't control a driver who doesn't obey his rules. I can't control a driver who comes within his fence area when we've stated not to. So I would just ask you to consider those things in my appeal to remove the vicious dog determination.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
At this point, Does any party wish to submit a brief at the close of this hearing? Either the county?
No, Your Honor. I mean, no.
I appreciate the compliment, but Ms. Zern?
Yes, no briefs.
Thank you. Then it'll be time for the committee to deliberate. We have on the agenda the opportunity to go into closed session. We don't need to go into closed session for this discussion. We may have it openly. If we do go into closed session, we are going to have to explain our thought process and everything afterwards after we do make a determination. So I'll leave it to the committee. Either someone can make a motion to go into closed session. Is there any discussion? Then we'll take a roll call vote, starting with Supervisor Newman. Aye, we'll go into closed session for an indeterminate amount of time. To include the clerk, the county chair, legislative clerk, and county attorney, and does court reporter need to be present for that, or is her work finished at this point?
She will need to